let me tell you, because ladies and gentlemen, it is almost impossible that you will build models of any significance in any logic and not run into a problem. Some of the problems that you run into are it tells you it doesn't understand what you mean by a model. Those will appear in the problem window. And you can go and double click on it. It will often bring you to something close. You can try to fix it. And those can be nuisances, but generally you can get by them, sometimes with a bit of help from others. But the other class of problems are problems that it won't tell you about directly, but you notice something is wild. Something is going on that doesn't make sense. Now, let me highlight this for you, because we have to be very cautious. With complex models, unusual things can be happening because of emergence. We may see something we don't expect because the model produces as a logical consequence in a way we didn't appreciate. So sometimes we look at behavior and we say, that can't be right, but it turns out it is. We just weren't able to think it through on our own. And other times we notice something, we say, that can't be right, and indeed it's not right, it's a bug. And we have to be able to work to distinguish those cases. So when I see behavior that's odd, I first ask, is it possible that's just an aspect of emergent behavior? And here what I see is something where this population, it's aging over time in a way that is quite clearly not having people come into the population anymore. After all, the youngest person is about 60 years old now. And the oldest person is a veritable Methuselah approaching 180 years old. Okay? So that suggests to me that immigration is not working properly. But more than that, mortality may not be working properly. Okay, so suggests to me there's a problem. What do I do to investigate the problem? The first thing I do, and the thing I do on an ongoing basis, is to hypothesize what might be going on. What might be wrong here? I'll adopt a working hypothesis for what might be going on, and I will investigate that hypothesis. I may have several hypotheses. Often I'll pick one that can be investigated quickly up front and that seems reasonably plausible, and I'll go in and I will try to falsify that hypothesis or build confidence in it. So in this case, I see this distressing thing. And the first question, my first hypothesis, which seems to me unlikely, but it's very easy to check, is it possible that this is just what is being shown? And maybe there's actually a lot of younger people here, and this is just a fraction of the population. Maybe it's not the population's problem, because after all, there's 640 some odd people in this population. Something's going on with immigration. There are people coming in. Maybe it's just not displaying the full extent. So really easy to check. How would I check that? Well, one thing I can do would be to copy this and paste, but I'm still thinking it's going to be bounded by this. So what I'm actually going to do, key point, to debug a model, we often want to change things and see, and we don't want those changes to last forever. So I'm going to copy this and say v3 debug. I'm going to copy it so I can change it without worrying it's going to destroy my model. I can change it, tweak things, try removing things, see how that changes things without changing my model. So save a copy of my model. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go in, having done that, I'm going to go into analysis data, and I'm going to, I want to go see the presentation. I want to go see this age distribution. I want to go see the histogram here. So let's go here, and I'll go up here, and I will go look at this histogram, and I particularly want to go look at this histogram data. Okay, this histogram data here. Interesting thing is that I would have expected that to be visible here, and indeed the histogram data object is. I wonder where those other charts are. They must be in presentation. There we are. Okay, that makes sense. Histogram data. So I'm going to set it, the values range, to be from 0 to 200. So I'm going to view the entire time. Maybe there were some that just weren't shown on there. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to run it. Because I made a copy of the model, I can change things willy-nilly. I can change things with abandon. I can change things without worry. Now, let's go see what's happening. Okay. Okay, we still see a graying of the population. Okay, so I've ruled out a hypothesis that it's just that people aren't coming in at the beginning. Okay, next. So, sorry. Ruled out the hypothesis. It just did happen not to be shown that it was really there, but it's not shown. There's pretty clearly no one in these younger age categories. Okay, next. So, alternative hypothesis. I didn't fully believe that one, but it seemed to me easy to rule out. And it would be a silly thing and easy to fix. Okay, so why wouldn't there be people in those youngest age categories? Well, maybe they're not being added into those youngest age categories. Let me go remind myself what's in this age distribution. So here we go. We're going to go to main. We're going to go down main. And here we'll go to the age distribution, and we'll go see. Okay, there's plenty of people coming into these younger age, that should be coming into these younger age categories. So why aren't they? Okay, one hypothesis is they're not being introduced into those young age categories in the first place. That would be really interesting if that's the case. I'm drawing from this distribution. Easy to check. How would I check that? Very easily. We go to this immigration event, and let me show you something of profound power. Okay, watch this. Add population. I am going to do the following. Okay, I'm going to do something that is outre. Do you mind? Yeah, I mean computationally. I don't mean, I'm not going to, engage in some sort of other behavior. Okay, so I'm going to add everyone. I'm going to comment that out. This is a comment character. It means basically don't pay attention to this for now. And I'm going to, when people immigrant, I'm going to add them all at age 0. Do you mind? Age 0. Watch this. I'm not saying do it yourself. Don't follow this. I'm debugging this. I'm just showing you. Look, I'm going to add them at age 0. Maybe there's something wrong with somehow I'm drawing from this. I want to see if I add them at age 0, will they show up as having been youngsters? I realized the problem. Got it. I know what the problem is. I'm pretty sure. Watch this. Ready? Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Leapfrog. I know what the problem is. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, lies not in our stars, but in ourselves. The problem is one that lies in our simple assumptions before, which we violated by introducing immigration. The problem lies in a simple fact. And the problem is simple to fix. Okay, so I just verified, even adding them at age 0, they're not being added on an ongoing basis at age 0. It's like they're being added. Watch this. So my hypothesis is they're actually being added, but they are not being treated at age 0, as if they're age 0. They're being treated as if their age is much older. We're telling them to add them at age 0, but they're not treating it like age 0. Watch this. I'm going to set an immigration event that's going to go off at a rapid rate, at the most rapid of rates. Watch this. The immigration rate is going to be 1,000 per year. See that? Virtually everyone's going to be an immigrant. Look at that. Here they come. See that? Okay, now watch this. Okay, we have a population of thousands, and watch. Do you see that?
Yeah, they just jump.
They just jump.
Now it's treating them as if they are 20. Look at this population. It burgeons. Okay? Watch this. It's going to go up to this, and then at 40, they're going to jump over. Watch this. Because this is consistent with my hypothesis, and I will show you the offending equation. And ladies and gentlemen, I will derive a fix for the offending equation. The offending equation is one that had a simplified assumption which is no longer true. Current age, ladies and gentlemen. Current age. The initial age is 0, we're setting them at. All these people flooding in to the country. Gosh, I don't want to say that, sorry. They're arriving and welcomed at our borders. And don't listen that they can vote. Nonsense. And we're adding the current time to that. Ladies and gentlemen, that ain't going to work. They're going to be currently 0. We add the current time. It's time 100, and they treat us if they're 100 years old. Okay. Now, there's 2 ways we can fix it. I did that to provide a modicum of simplicity before. But now we've graduated. And it's time for us, like the population, to mature. The fix, ladies and gentlemen, is not painful, but it will take one of 2 actions. Action 1, we could have in here add a parameter to a person that keeps track what time they were introduced in their initial age. So we'd have initial age plus time minus the time that they were introduced. Okay? And that would work. Just one more parameter. But we can actually do it more elegantly. And I'd like to show you the proper solution. So you carry not away poor habits. Okay? Nor poor grammar. Okay. You carry not. Poor grammar. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've identified this problem, I believe. I actually haven't totally verified that this is the problem. But I see strong evidence that it is. Everything I see is consistent with this fact, and I am willing to wager that we could fix it readily and the problem will go away. Let me show you what I will do with this model, and then we'll do it with the full model. Shall we not? Okay. The trick here, initial age. We're not going to have initial age anymore. Initial age, ladies and gentlemen, will go away. What will come in its place is a parameter called birth time. The time of their birth. Think of it as birth date. Maybe some of you have worked with administrative data. And in administrative data, we might keep track, not a person's age for every record. We have a record associated with, they experienced this operation in this given year, or they were prescribed this medication this given year. And then we associate each person with a birth year, birth date, right? And if we want to know what age they were at that time, we subtract off the time of the operation from the time of the operation their birth. And we figure out, okay, they were 46 at the time they received, knee replacement surgery, right? Simple idea. That's what we're going to be undertaking here. Simple idea, reasonably elegant to implement, but it's going to take a wee bit of thought. May I show it to you? Because it is a pattern that will recur on many occasions. Here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do to be safe, the first thing I'm going to do will be to basically delete initial age. Okay? I'm going to delete the parameter initial age. Remove it from the map. Boom. Okay? Next, I'm going to go add in a parameter called birth time. Think of it as their birth date. But because we keep track of time and dates and time here, by default, we'll just make it birth time. This is going to be a double precision value. And by default, it will be 0 if we don't specify. Okay? The initial population, we'll see, even the initial population will have birth times that will vary. Okay? Birth time, are we okay with that? Think of it like a birth date. Okay? Now, how will their current age be determined? Can anyone say? How would we figure out, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2017. Here we're dealing with an individual who was born in 2007. How old would they be? 10. Suppose it's 2017, we're dealing with an individual who was born in 2000. How old would they be? 17. So how do we figure it out? Yeah, it's time, the current time, minus the birth time. Is it not?
Yep.
Is it not? Is. Okay? Okay, now, I'm doing this on this model. This is a throwaway model. I'm gonna go back to the real model, but I want to show that I'm verifying this. Okay? There we go. Next, for the initial population, what will their birth time be? You could be doing this on your models because it should be correct. I'm just verifying on this one. What will the birth time of the initial population be? Okay, this is where the bit of thinking. This is what I was avoiding by doing it that way. I thought I'd spare you trouble, but I caused you more in the end. Better before worse. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, what would the birth time of the initial population be? How would we figure it out? Okay. I hear a wise comment. How if I just called age distribution? Is that right? No, because it's time 0 is the starting time when they get initialized. And here we're saying someone's birth time is in the future? That doesn't make sense. What does it need to be? Minus birth time. You may say, how is that possible? Well, suppose someone's 80 years old at the start of the model. When were they born? 80 years ago. Time minus 80. Suppose someone's 20 at the start of the model. When were they born? 20 years ago. Time minus 20.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Birth time there. And now, we have one final fix. Believe it or not, we're almost done. Believe it or not, here we come. For immigration event, what do we need to do? What is the rule for immigration event? We want to add someone in who has this certain age. By the way, you notice add population now takes the sex first because we eliminated that parameter and then the birth time. So, is this going to work? No, because we want a birth time. When would they have been born if they're currently of a certain age? Let's call their age. When would they have been born? The current time minus the age is when they'd be born. So we want current time minus this draw from the age distribution. Okay. So if they're 20 years old now, they were born. Their birth time is the current time minus 20 years. Okay? And now I believe the problem is fixed. Now I will verify my solution. May I do so? Hearing no objections, I will build the model. Hearing no objections, I will run the model. Here we go. People are coming in at large numbers, and we see a population that is adjusting towards equilibrium, it seems. There's some people getting older. It's true. There's some people getting older. There remain some individuals of considerable longevity. But we're no longer having the stepwise sort of continuum. Okay, there are individuals who are living a little bit long. Okay, and now I've exceeded the number for the PLE version. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I would venture that actually has solved the problem. The issue is the mortality rate is a wee bit low. Let's try a somewhat higher mortality rate. Let's try a mortality rate of 0.15 instead of 0.1. And let's run that. Okay, 0.15, try running that. Here we go. We have some centenarians, okay? There are some individuals who are yet a little bit older. That's true. Yeah. And very few individuals who are older yet. Okay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I believe that problem is fixed. I will now apply those changes from my temporary model over to the actual model. So the first thing is I'm going to do is I am going to go drag this immigration event over there, and I will copy the birth rate logic over there as well, and we should be fine. So I'm going to discard this model. This is my debugging model. Boom. And I will open a previous model. Here we go, the non-debugging version, and I will apply my changes here. Okay, so here we go. Here we go to main, and I am going to delete this guy and substitute in the one I've copied instead. There we go. Great. And I will go down to person, and I will eliminate initial age, just like I did in that model. And I will go add in here birth time, and it's a double, and its default value is 0.0. And I will go over to population, and I will set this to be birth time minus age distribution. And I believe the changes are now complete, with the exception of a higher mortality rate. Okay, which I'll implement. There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the debugging there was one that concluded essentially that I had a simplified assumption there, which assumed everyone was born at the initial time, and I failed to update it. That was a programmer error. That was a developer error. I should have realized when I added immigration that needed to change. I'm going to save this recording and return to our normal expected course.